Hello and welcome to the 7th day of January 2022. My name's Kurt and I'm a little out of sorts. No, that's not what I meant to say. My name's Kurt and this is the Good Life Meditation. But it is true, I am a little out of sorts. This is one of those mornings when you wake up, it just, things aren't quite right. And I know why. It's because I had a very active, two things. I had a very active weekend. I'm getting to the age now where the routine, I'm becoming more of a creature of habit. The routine of my life is a good source of quietude, comfort. I could string on all kinds of adjectives to describe it, but yeah, I just like it. But so I had a very busy weekend. Well, we had a house guest the entire weekend. My daughter's boyfriend Chris was here, and that was lovely. It was really nice. We had a good time, but it breaks up the routine, right? So there was that. So in spite of the fact that it was a very nice visit, we did a lot of fun stuff, um, including yesterday taking the Palm Springs cable car to the top of San Jacinto Peak, or near the top, probably the top of the range at least, 8,500 feet up. Had a nice adventure at the top of the mountain, and then a lunch, and then came back down. It was a good time. But I'm worn out. The second thing is that today really marks the start of my next big project at work in earnest. I've still got the first project to focus on, but it's in self-operation mode. I still have work to do. I'm going to teach most of the classes, but for the most part, we're off and running. Oh, that reminds me, I need to get everybody in the test environment and contact them. One more thing to be anxious about this week. So I have a lot to do this week. And then I have to kick off the new project. And I have a presentation in the afternoon to talk about that. So time to roll up my sleeves even further and get busy. But this is the kind of anxiousness that is to be expected with a hard job. So, and I do have a difficult job. So I will accept this challenge and off we go. Okay, let's do the good life meditation. I'm going to do the cursory fast mode this morning because I have a lot to do. Here we go. 7 objectives. These are to be always ready to die, to make good and effective use of my time, to develop and maintain good and sound life objectives and principles, to cultivate good emotional reaction, to perform good actions, and to recognize my true limits and true opportunity, and finally, to just do one thing at a time, and to always do that thing slowly. Oh, I forgot to talk about the challenges of yesterday. Mostly, I met the day with a plan to temper my interaction. When you're dealing with young adults, they have namely my daughter and her boyfriend, they have almost of necessity. I think this is the way that biologically we're laid out to be very engaged in the world. I sound like the religious. It's not what I mean. They're like tin soldiers, really, really wound up. We're all tin soldiers, pirate rider after all. But they're really, really, really wound up. And you let them go and they're not just motion, but up here. Whereas people my age are more, we're winding down. And I find that when I engage at that level, at their level, it's not a fun thing to do. It's part of the reason why I didn't enjoy the decade of the 20s very much, because I was all wound up. So I set off in the morning, even though I don't think I said this during my Good Life meditation. I planned the day that I was going to not be the wound up. And wind up can be very fun, actually, and I think it's, pardon me, a necessary thing if you're going to take on all at once. From young adulthood, the shallow challenges of life, of education and job, spouse, home, family, responsibilities like that. You need that, but I'm not going to try to engage at that level. So I deliberately did not, and it worked throughout the day. I kept at my own engagement level, and now I understand a little more why some old people, particularly old men, become more quiet and reserved and reclusive in the presence of the young. Now my 30 principles. 1, the principle of war, to always fight against any proposition of truth that is important, at least, seems important. 2, reason, and the sub-principles of honesty, objectivity, and doubt, which are my tools in the pursuit of that war I mentioned just a moment ago. 3, the homunculus, the little mortal who lives inside my head, who is my reminder that we have no soul and that death is absolute. 4, the Anchorhold, the concept of the homunculus sitting on a rock or standing on a rock or prone upon a rock in the middle of the sea with waves churning, threatening to draw us in and drown us. Everyone else on their rocks, and we're waving at them and trying to talk across the water. Ultimately, each of us alone. Next is the home of good and evil. The idea that right and wrong, good and evil, are nothing more than concepts and opinions that we hold. They don't exist in the universe elsewhere, outside of our minds. Next is the principle of purpose. My purpose are to be a good husband and father, to live a virtuous life, pursuing the well-being of others, particularly the well-being of thinking creatures, and then to work on my mission, which is the writing and sharing of my book, Going Alone, available on Amazon. Or if you write to me or send me or you can buy it on my website, goingalone.org. Next comes the atomic principle, the reminder that everything is made of small bits and pieces, flowing and changing and forever transforming. Then comes the principle of nature. Everything has some particular nature, and it's good to recognize what that is so that we can abide it and cultivate it and at least be prepared to respond to it. Then comes the pirate ride, the proposition that free will is an illusion. And then maturity, and the sub-principles of wisdom and fortitude. We are mature when we remember our successes and failures, and with strength try to avoid the mistakes in the future and cultivate better success. Then comes did I talk about the pirate ride? Yeah, the idea of no free will, right. And then comes social principle. We are social animals. We need one another. And then public speaking. A reminder to be very careful in what I'm doing with regard to communication. To speak slowly, clearly, deliberately. Use well-chosen words, suitable words, and to never gossip. I guess that's what I was doing yesterday with the young people. Then comes temperance and the sub-principles of suffering, because we suffer when we deny ourselves what we want. Simplicity, because a temperate life is a simple life. And then apathy, where we can recognize what's outside of our control and simply let that be without further mental engagement, trying to own something we can never own. Okay, after temperance comes the that which must be born. Oh no, sorry, that's the one after that. Two principles: the horror show, and then that's what must be born. That which must be born. The horror show is just a reminder that life is, in fact, a horror show, chock full of terror, pain, suffering, and I need to remember that so that I can um, be dealing with reality better and working towards helping to make things better to the best of my ability. That comes to the next principle: that which must be born. I must bear the fact of the terror show, of the horror show. I also must bear the fact of my responsibilities, my commitments, the things I've set out to do, and do them. That includes a difficult job. Like today's gonna be a difficult day at work, but I'm gonna do it because it's something that I will bear. I chose to bear. It's virtuous to bear. Okay, then comes the Feast of Offal, which is the waste and byproduct of the lives that we live when we're not living a temperate life, not controlling our emotions, but letting our emotions get the best of us and periodically erupting like a volcano to spew the lava of our mind, the filthy offal that comes out of our mouth in turn the form of words upon others, upsetting them and setting them off balance. And then they do it to the others, and on and on and on. It just keeps on going. So I try to do neither perform that nor engage in it when others are doing it, but I simply offer comfort where I can. Okay. Next comes distraction. We spend our lives distracting ourselves from the fact of the next principle, the great indifference, which is the awful emptiness of the universe, a universe devoid of any God or gods, which we don't want to see, because then that means we're on our own. So we distract ourselves with our work and our play and our families and our hobbies and all these things. Okay, so that was 2. Next comes the best seat in the house, a reminder that I don't want to be anyone else or be anywhere else or be doing anything else, but to be okay with where I am, who I am, and what I'm doing just now. All the while striving to be in a better circumstance every day. Interesting how those two can fit together. Next comes the Path of Wildness, which is a way forward through challenging episodes of life, especially when we desire to change, wherein we collect the facts, give ourselves time to think, and either make a decision or give ourselves more time. But eventually, we stop giving ourselves more time and make a decision, possibly weighted with our gut feeling to move us forward, because there is virtue, some virtue of a sort, in movement, in forward movement. Okay, the risk of avoiding risk. Life has deep level risks, like finding oneself, and shallow risks, like going to college and finding a spouse and getting a job, saving for retirement, having kids, buying a house, all that stuff. I recommend that if you feel a calling to attend to the deep level risks, that you do so in the decade of the 20s, because it gets harder later. You lose your chance. And then tackle the shallow risks after that in your 30s and on. Having lived your story, created your adventure. Next comes sin and damnation. There are 8 sins in my worldview. These are falsity, being untrue; credulity, believing things too easy; hope, which has no motive force; faith, where we believe things, thinking that our belief alone is the evidence, or a evidence, some sort of evidence for what we believe; authority, believing things because someone in a high office or a position of some repute says it's true; dogma, believing something because it's part of our blessed tradition and maybe it's written down in a big book that we really like; and then superstition, which is a category of things which we might choose to believe, which of their own nature are nearly regarded as nonsense at large by virtue of the fact of being called superstition; and then gossip, where we talk about others and say things that we would be embarrassed if they could hear us saying what we were saying. So that's the measure of when we're gossip. I mean, if suddenly the person that we're talking about would appear in the room, would we want them to hear what we're saying about them? Although sometimes even flattering stuff can be gossip, so I try to avoid that too, usually within reason. Okay, complete oblivion. When we're dead, we're going to be gone completely. There'll be no reunion with the ones we love. There'll be no reconciliation with anybody that we can't have reunion with. And there'll be no final justice because there's no God and there's no afterlife and no soul to which to apply any post-life justice. So pursue those things now. Get together with the ones we love. Reconcile as best we can and seek out justice. The great life adventure is a one or more experiences that we have that kind of form a centerpiece of our lives. Season of philosophy is a time to write down whatever words come to us through inspiration, but we have to write them down when they come. We can't wait; they'll pass away. The bullseye aim, striving for the mark and usually missing by some degree or completely. The uphill climb, life is a forward, upward trudge, but the view just keeps getting better and better the higher we go. Arena and utility. Life is an arena where we get to pursue various goals, avoid particular pains, and use our principles in pursuit of our objectives. Two more. Second to last is nothing is enough. Just a reminder that less is often better. I'm a little anxious this week and today because I also did spend a lot of money this week on a particular purchase. I don't buy too many things for myself, but I really wanted this. I think it's going to make my little place here a lot better. So I always feel that way after a big purchase. This is okay. And then finally, the principle of fun. A reminder to have a good time. Okay, those are my good life objectives and principles. I've talked about how I did yesterday, applying these. Now let's plan for the coming day. I have a full day of work ahead of me. 3 things that I need to do. 1, I need to decide my plan of action for contacting the trainees for the upcoming training which begins next week. I have the list of people, and I know what I need to do. I need to contact the systems administrator to let them know that these are the trainees' names, to please set them up with accounts in the test system. Then I'll reach out to those people one by one throughout the week. I have today through Thursday to do that, to get them all set up. 2, the second thing I need to work on is I need to prepare for a morning meeting to go over, it's really 4 things. I need to prepare for the morning meeting to go over the second project manager's roles and responsibilities. I'm going to give them an assignment to study something that'll keep them busy today and tomorrow. And then I'm going to, 3, I'm going to, this is the big one, lay out the battle plan for the big project, and then produce a short PowerPoint presentation that I'm going to give in a meeting in the afternoon to let people know what the battle plan is. I'm good at that. I can do this. I shouldn't say I'm good at that. I'm not. What I mean, that came out wrong. This is something I can do. It takes work. Doesn't come naturally to me, but I can push myself through this and lay this out, because this kind of sets the stage for how things are going to go for a very big project, very similar in some ways to projects I've done before, but different in many ways as well. And then I need to start collecting some facts and get up and get going. By tomorrow, I would like to reach out to the vendor and begin coordinating. That's my day, laid out, kind of in high-level bullet points. And there's my good life meditation for today. So I think I'll sign off now. I wish you all the best. And remember to be safe, but not too safe.